Hey guys, welcome back. This is your host Phil from Untitled.com. Today we're gonna learn a few things about the Xiaomi Mi A1. Let's start with the design, or rather the build quality. It's actually pretty good. Xiaomi usually does a pretty good job with their hardware, and this is no exception. One part that may bother you is the way it looks. It's not entirely innovative, to be honest. And while it doesn't look like iPhone 7 Plus as much as it did on the stock photo, it still looks a bit boring or uninspiring. But the display is pretty good. It's got 5.5 inches of a full HD LTPS panel. It shows good color reproduction with above average brightness. And performance is pretty good too. It's got Snapdragon 625 octa-core processor paired up with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. That's actually plentiful. And optimization is pretty good as well. Tap on the app, close it, launch another app, close it, and go multitask between the apps, and they're pretty snappy. And that largely is thanks to the stock software. And as you can see here, it doesn't have any of the bloatware except for the feedback app, which is an app that allows you to tell the company of the issues or suggestions about the phone. And my issue is that you can't disable the feedback app, let alone uninstall it. And aside from that, having stock app is good. It's clean, it doesn't waste any resources, but the thing is, it's way too stock. This guy has the FM radio tuner built inside, which is only available in the test mode app. Because they wanted to keep it so clean, you can't utilize the built-in hardware. And it has the usual Xiaomi button layout, multitasking on the left, back key on the right. I'm not a huge fan of this, and you can't change this either. Moreover, the button LEDs are really dim, and you can't change the LED timeout. They will go off after 3 seconds, whatever you do. And while the screen calibration isn't that bad, there is no white balance settings. Enough with the software, let's move into the dual camera system that Xiaomi claims to be of a flagship level portrait mode. You can launch the camera by pulling on the shortcut or quickly pressing the power key twice. It has Xiaomi's own camera app, and the result is terrible, especially in the indoors or in low lighting conditions. It lacks details, it's noisy, the output is soft, and lack of OIS make the photos really shaky. There is 2x optical zoom that generates even worse photo. It's very shaky with almost no detail whatsoever. That being said, portrait mode is also another joke. Again, it's noisy, shaky, edge processing is bad. Simply put, never use the portrait mode unless it's for fun. And unfortunately, front-facing camera is as bad as the rear camera, or maybe even worse. Even when beautification is turned off, it's gonna smudge your face, it lacks details, and it's terrible at measuring white balance. Enough said about the camera, let's move on to the audio department. It's got mono speaker on the bottom, and the speaker quality is not bad. It's actually loud enough, and the details are not great, but pretty good for this price range. The problem, surprisingly, is the wired output. It's got the 3.5mm headphone jack on the bottom. I'm pretty glad that it has one, but it generates terrible hissing sound. Whichever earphones or headphones you have plugged in, it's gonna generate hissing sound whenever you touch the screen or you start playing any kind of sound. And that noise is really loud. It's the loudest hissing sound I've ever heard on any phone. Fortunately, it's not present when you're using wireless headphones or the USB-D AC, and that includes the hideous USB Type-C to earphone jack adapters included in the devices like Pixel 2 or 2 XL. I never thought that I would be thankful for them, but here I am, I'm glad that they exist. In contrary, the battery life is pretty good. It gave me around 7.5 hours to 8 hours of screen on time. I'm always on LTE network, surf the web all the time, so most of you should be able to get even longer screen on time than I did. The charging, however, is pretty slow. It takes a little less than 2 hours. And now that I told you this much, it's time for the verdict. The Mi A1 was a bit of a disappointment. Maybe I expected too much on the Xiaomi's hardware and the Google stock Android. Firstly, the camera quality was unforgivable even for the price. I've seen better from the phones that are even cheaper than this. I believe Xiaomi should have gone to one good single camera rather than dual camera system. And secondly, that static noise, hissing sound, is terrible. Overall, I don't think this combination, Xiaomi's hardware and the stock Android software, was a good idea. Maybe it would have been a better phone if it had a MIUI installed on it, which is Mi 5X essentially. It's not a bad phone, it's not terrible for its price, but I don't think it's gonna cut it to be your daily main driver for your everyday usage for everything that you do. There are some qualities that this misses, even as a budget phone. That being said, it's gonna do just fine as a work phone or a backup phone. That's what Xiaomi Mi A1 is like. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. Thank you always for watching. You can always meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. We'll see you guys later. Ciao.